Okay, now we're moving on to the straight on view of the head. Try to go a little bit quicker now. Finish this up. I've been trying to figure out how to live stream on my desktop onto YouTube. No dice. Maybe what I'll do is try something else. But anyhow, let's get this done. Get this done, and keep in mind that this demo usually takes almost like a whole class period. Sometimes I break it up into 2 classes, so it is a long demo. It's meant to be long. We're really getting into a lot of information here about the human head, so let's go ahead and get that straight on view done. So looking at straight on view, going to go to our handout here about the different steps of the process. Yikes, sorry about this. So we're going to go to this guy kind of right here, okay? All right, so let's talk about the nose. The nose in the straight on view. We're going to be looking at a lot of references, a lot of information to kind of digest here. Excuse me for 1 second. This sheet right here is really good. So right here, that nose. So you can see the nose has 3 distinct planes to it. The front, the left, and the right. And actually the 4th plane would be the bottom of the nose. So I'm going to go and lightly kind of erase this area kind of here so I can draw on top of it. But that nasal ridge is going to form basically the front plane of the nose. The bottom of the nose really is this kind of pentagonal shape, something like that, that's going to form kind of the bottom plane of the nose. And kind of looking at this guy, looking at this guy over here, we're going to kind of shape in the nose there. So that bottom plane is important. Kind of connecting it across again from one view of the head to the next. So there's the center plane. Now a lot of people, when they draw the nose, they just forget the fact that it has 3 sides to it. And if you don't think about that, your nose is going to look flat. It's not going to look like it projects kind of off the page, comes forward towards the viewer. That's really kind of the goal. So let me kind of do a quick recap of my nose. Something kind of like that. And then the sides, the different side planes of it. Okay, and then the nostrils. Again, you draw around the nostrils. You have this thing here called the septum, which is kind of the space between the nostrils. And then this whole area is going to be in shadow because it turns inward. Usually the tip of the nose has this kind of bulbous shape, something like that. And a lot of times light might be coming from this side. So if that's the case, you would have a kind of shadow coming off the nose. And it would even kind of project kind of something like that. So there's the basics of the nose, and also keep in mind the inside of the nose kind of forms the inside of the eye socket. All right, so that's kind of what I'm thinking about when I draw. Let's put this in view. When I draw my nose, I'm thinking about all those things I just kind of went over on that larger drawing there. And, again, lots of variation inside the nose. That's kind of the beautiful thing about it. It has so many variations. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of throw my eyebrows in too. And again, the eyebrows really kind of form around the, let me just turn this light off here. It's a little bit better, I guess, with the glare, I don't know. Eyebrows kind of form around the eye sockets. All right, let's go into the mouth. So the mouth is not that far removed from the nose. It's actually pretty close to the nose. And again, I'm going to draw that kind of space between the lips, upper and lower jaw, first, because that's going to help define the both the top and the bottom of the lips. You're going to kind of kill two birds with one stone. So I'm going to again go back to my paper here, show you a little bit more of a detailed view. So what I do usually is I draw the space between the lips, and again, that center line is where that middle separation of the lips are. The lips are basically like the letter M, kind of put into a trash compactor or smushed. Even more than that, it becomes this really kind of smushed M shape, which is kind of the separation of the lips. And also the top lip kind of mirrors or parallels the shape of that opening. Although the top lip, the upper lip rather, is a little bit wider than the lower lip. Now it looks like a really kind of a wide mouth there, so I might trim it down some. The width of the mouth generally is kind of like slightly wider kind of than the nose. Keeping in mind, things do vary from person to person. Again, that upper lip is going to be in shadow because it's kind of going away from you. And the lower lip is basically like two kind of lobe-like masses, two kind of fatty masses, forming a shape that's almost like a oval kind of laying on its side there. And again, that upper lip might actually cast a little bit of a shadow onto the lower lip. Then you have right here this kind of flesh that kind of divides. And then the lower lip itself kind of has value inside of it too. Remember, everything has a property of light, the core of shadows in it, every form. So here is that space between, if I go over here, that space between the upper lower lip and the chin, there's this hollow spot that's usually kind of in shadow there. So I'm going to go ahead and draw out my upper and lower lip on my drawing here. And I'm going to go in and just use my pen to kind of do this now, because I feel like it's going to be clearer for me to see. And if you guys want to do this on your own, you can definitely do that at this point. And again, just kind of repeat what I just showed you on that kind of inset drawing there, the scaled up drawing of it. And so I'm starting to get my chin. My chin is, I mentioned the middle protuberance, that kind of chin strap shape. The chin, as it comes up, is in shadow, but then when it turns upward, light starts to hit it. I might have a little bit more space between my chin and my bottom lip than I probably indicated. And maybe I'll put a little bit of shadow kind of on the side of my nose there. So moving along here, you might also have some dimples kind of along the side of the mouth. And then the mouth kind of curves away and you start to get kind of shadow kind of over there. So we're kind of fleshing this guy out now. Let's go ahead and let's get into the eyes now. It's usually everybody's favorite thing. I'm going to go look at my cheat sheet here of the eyes, and also look at a couple of different sheets. So this is that cheat sheet, which is on Blackboard now. I might turn this light back on. I think we might need a little bit more light, maybe redirect it. Still got that kind of glare over there. Maybe move this a little bit. Okay, that looks a little better. Okay, so kind of looking at the eyes here, and looking at this kind of cheat sheet. And here's another great thing to look at. This is on page 48 in your Methods and Models manual. So there's this one space distance between the eyes is the size of the eyes. So for one eyeball, you have a space between the two eyeballs. And then you also have another eyeball width from the outside of each eyeball. So if you actually look at the head, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eyeballs wide, 5 eyes wide. Generally though, you have one eyeball space between the eyeballs. And this illustration too shows you that kind of the width of the nose going straight up from his nostrils is kind of the separation between the two eyeballs as well. Lots of information on these pages here. If you guys really look at them hard, you're going to learn a lot about the features, about proportions, relationships, in the head too. Okay, so right here, start to lay in the eyeballs quite a bit. Again, mentioned the eyeballs are literally ball shapes. Sorry if my hand's kind of in the way of this one, but the second one, the other side, you'll be able to see a little bit better. So I'm just putting in kind of ball-like shapes here. And again, referencing the original handout. So you're looking at a lot of information here, guys, to help you do this. I'm doing this from my imagination. It would be good to do this from a human being, either yourself or someone else. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to look at my eyeball page here, page 51. Kind of look at how that eyeball shape, that mass of the eyeball, really is this kind of ball form with kind of the lids kind of wrapped over it. So again, you want to take that literally. It's called an eyeball for a reason. You can't see a lot of the actual ball shape because it's hidden behind the eye socket and also the eyelids are covering it up. So remember, I want to have an eye width space between each eye. And the eyeballs actually don't kind of exist on a flat plane. Like the outside of it is lower down. See this one here? Slightly lower down than the inside of the eyeball. So the eyeballs kind of tilt down a little bit from the inside to the out. And remember, the iris is just one part of it. I know a lot of people like to draw the irises really big and the eyeballs really big, and it is fun. But keep in mind, we're trying to draw as best we can, at least for now, naturalistically. So I got my eyeballs kind of laid in. I can go in and keep in mind that the eyeballs are inside of the eye socket. And if there's light coming from straight above, the eyeballs might not actually get a lot of light hitting them. They might be a lot darker or obscured than you might think. So just because you have the eyeballs and then you got the white of the eyes as you kind of traditionally think of it, they might not actually be bright white. They might actually have a value on them simply because they're in shadow. And everything in shadow is going to have some type of value on it. Even if it's a bright value, it's still going to be a little bit darker if it's in shadow. So keep that in mind, because that's really something a lot of people, amateurs, kind of, when they draw that, paint the head, it's really bright white openings in the eye, even if there's generally like a shadow over the head. The eyeballs are set inside of the eye sockets, and that kind of protects the eyeballs from getting hurt. That's why they're often in shadow. Now, really, the darkest part of the head is this kind of space between the inside of the eyeball and the outside of the nose. And let me get back to my sketch that I was doing with the mouth and the nose. Let's see right here. Start to lay in, maybe show you a little bit more about laying in the eyeballs and this kind of bigger scale drawing here. So again, the space between the eyes is an eye width apart. And there's this hollow spot that I was just trying to show you a little bit ago where the eyeballs will be kind of existing. And again, think about the eyeball, not just the opening of the eye. So I'm drawing these ball-like shapes. Keep in mind these are going to be going into your eye sockets, these shapes. And as mentioned, the inside and the outside of kind of the opening of the eye are not on a level plane. The outside is lower down. And that upper eye socket, the upper eyelid rather, goes into the eye socket. And remember, the iris is partially covered by the eyelid in most cases. Some people do have really big eyeballs. I mean, you can see a lot of their iris more so than others. And remember, the eyelid is going to cast a little shadow over the eyeball. So if light's coming from this way again, and your eyeball is indeed a ball, you're going to have this kind of core of shadow that runs over the whole form of that ball. See what I mean? I think this little drawing I'm doing on the side here is maybe more helpful than the one on the three views. So just like if light's still coming this way, if you draw that second eyeball in, you might not flesh this one out as much. I'm going to think more about the ball shape, form rather. But if light's coming this way, that ball is going to have a core of shadow here. And then that core of shadow is going to override kind of everything else on that form. It's going to be more important in details. And that's what's going to make that eyeball look really round and actually capture the idea of it. It's going to look more lifelike. Again, so here's, I don't know if I got it. I did a pretty bad job of putting these eyeballs on the same plane. Should have done that axis line a little sooner. They do more or less exist on the same horizontal plane, looking a little bit better. But that's something to keep in mind as you kind of keep drawing over there. All right, so I'm getting a pretty decent head on this drawing here, probably in some ways better than this one. But I'm doing this, I'm thinking the same way though. It's just a little harder to maybe show you on this smaller scale. Keep in mind, I normally do this on the chalkboard in the classroom. All right, so let's talk last feature really is the ears. From the straight on view, the ears kind of come out from behind that zygomatic arch. And really, they're almost like a disc, a really disc-like shape, really like a coaster from that kind of viewpoint. Again, the top is like at the top of the eye. The bottom is usually at the bottom of the nose. And you're going to have them in the same places in terms of on the same plane. You know, I should have done that. You know, put your eyeballs on the same horizontal plane. And again, try to relate one view to the next as best you can. That's why I gave you guys 2 of these sheets, because you're going to do a lot better on the second attempt than on the first. All right, let's talk about the neck a little bit. We're going to go ahead and put the neck in. The neck is usually slightly narrower than the width of the jaw. It's different in some people. It's not going to curve in. Remember we talked about don't do that dip in. Everything kind of swells outward, even on someone with a very narrow neck. And so that neck, we talked about the neck being in front of the shoulders and going behind the shoulders, the idea of the coat hanger. The top of the coat hanger might be somewhere kind of going behind the chin. And might put a little bit of a sense of that sternomastoid muscle in here. And a little bit more maybe a curve to the shoulders. Okay, getting there. If you wanted to put like a collared shirt on this figure, it would wrap around, come out from the other side, kind of here. So, very sketchy. All right, I do want to talk about the hair from the straight on view. So again, the hair is going to add height to the head. And if you guys need to or want to, you can go beyond the square now. Add some more height to it. You know, you might have already kind of broken off of that square shape anyhow, which is fine. That might just happen just through your drawing itself. Square is really there just as a guide. Remember, the hair is going to follow the shape, direction, the form of the head, and kind of have that come out a little bit more. So, you know, again, think about if light's coming from the side here. You know, the whole head is going to have a core of shadow that kind of wraps around this whole side of the head. And the nose will have one. So this whole side will get a little bit more kind of in shadow. And then even the chin and the jaw will cast a shadow kind of onto the neck and even onto the shoulders kind of as well. Not so hot. I don't know what's going on by straight on you. But all right, let's go ahead and we'll call that part 2 of the fleshing out of the face and the head. Last up is the 3/4 view.